France woke up to riots, fire and road disruption as the Block Everything protests began. It's a baptism of fire for Sébastien Lecornu, the country's freshly appointed prime minister and close ally of President Emmanuel Macron. His nomination comes after weeks of brewing tension, culminating in a no-confidence vote over François Bayrou's proposed budget plan. Meanwhile, these workers in the north of the country have been blocking an Amazon site since the early morning.
Amazon is the symbol of millions in public aid, so it's symbolic to be here. The message we want to send is to stop giving public aid, especially to companies that lay off workers. We did the right thing in sticking to the protest today. Sébastien Lecornu is close to President Macron. He's just going to pursue the same austerity policy.
In Lyon, protesters blocked the highway running through the city.
That was the plan for September 10th. I'm pretty much in favor of it, so I took my car, knowing that I might get stuck in traffic.
This anonymous man calls the nomination of the country's ex-defense minister a mockery.
We were already planning to come even before Bayrou was dismissed and Lecornu was appointed. But I think that made us even more determined because it's him thumbing his nose at us.
The Block Everything movement started online in May. And although analysts say it was first pushed by right-wing groups, it has since been taken over by the left and far left. Its lack of centralized leadership makes its destructiveness hard to predict. The French government, however, is planning to deploy some 80,000 police forces across the country.
When I recently consider Emmanuel Macron's comments on Africa, they reveal his diplomatic intentions. Well, every conscious African individual should therefore understand these matters very quickly. Everything he was able to tell us and what it means. General Chani said not long ago about a change in tactics or the strategies of French forces in Africa. I think he came to confirm it. It is about dissolving and maintaining a Socleur device. Emmanuel Macron conveyed his message so clearly that our only appropriate response is to thank him. Due to their genuine sincerity, even if some individuals attempt to deceive their entire population, the inescapable reality ultimately catches up with them. They will not leave certain countries. They have just dissolved the presence. You will no longer see them in bases, but in embassies, they will be there. They are going to establish security companies to secure their society that exists in those countries. The soldiers will be there, but you will no longer see them in uniform or gathered in bases. That's all it means. They are going to reorganize, but they will be there. As a courtesy towards certain heads of state, priority is being given to them to announce the rupture or the departure of French military forces from their respective territories. It matters little to us, one could say. But all we know is that if you want a break with these imperialist forces, it's simple, denounce the agreements. It all starts there. I think the example of Chad, in any case, they started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if you do not denounce the agreements, just saying that the bases are leaving, we have done nothing. Because the problem lies in the colonial defense agreements that have been signed since independence. The most dangerous thing is not what you see in the bases. The most dangerous are the military advisors. The military council currently exists within all of these countries. They existed in Burkina as well until the end of 2022, until we took our responsibilities. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones who are supposed to put into practice France's policy here. They must work to make our armies very weak so that France can always have the argument to exist here. Compared below, they had succeeded. Our sentinels were therefore on guard with sticks. That's what France wants from our armies. When we reach this stage, we have no choice but to want them to come and settle. But the Burkinabe army also seems at some point to get rid of the military advisors. Unfortunately, I think that in 2019, after Operation Otapon, circumstances worsened significantly, where these French saw that the army in Burkina Faso still had the capacity to react to terrorism. They called the chiefs of staff in France.
Once upon a time in France, President Emmanuel Macron told Ibrahim Traore that he should be thankful because they have been to Africa for many years trying to help Africa and trying to make sure that Africa is in a good state and in a good condition. And he told Ibrahim Traore, instead of you asking us out of your country, you should be thankful because we've been helping you for many years. Therefore, at least try and thank us or say thank you for everything we have been doing to your country. And Capt.Ibrahim Traore answered him back and he told him, you should be thankful because Africa has kept you for all that time. It has given you everything you need. You've been surviving and taking everything from Africa for many years, okay? And your existence has been as a result of you associating yourself to an African country. Otherwise, you would not be living or being or having the kind of life that you're having today. And President Emmanuel Macron felt like maybe this guy does not know what he's saying, or rather maybe this guy, he is just somebody who doesn't understand anything.
He also insulted all Africans.
I think they forgot to say thank you to us. It's not a big deal. It will come with time.
There is a part that caught my attention where he talked about ingratitude.
Gratitude, I am well aware, is a non-transmissible disease to humans.
He is human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human in his eyes. I think that if he is not an atheist and he prays, every morning when he wakes up and prays, he should also pray to the Africans. Because it is thanks to our ancestors that there is a France today. He should pray to us.
I remember some time when President Traore took power in Burkina Faso, many politicians, especially the black politicians, they were saying that, Captain Traore will not be able to manage. Why? Because many African politicians think and believe that as somebody who is as someone who is a president in Africa or a politician in Africa, you must associate yourself or you must have some cooperations with maybe the Europe countries or American country for you to be able to survive. Because we have been blindfolded and brainwashed to an extent we think we can't survive on our own unless we join hands with Europe countries or an American country. And therefore, they were telling Captain Traore, you can't manage by yourself. The fact that you've told these people or you've asked these people out of your country, it is going to be very difficult for you to run your country. What happened next? After a very short time, in a period of only 2 years, Captain Traore had already changed Burkina Faso to an extent like nobody else would ever thought that was Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, before the rising of Capt.Ibrahim Traore, was ranked amongst the last 3 countries which are poor in Africa, amongst the 54 countries. Out of the 54 countries, Burkina Faso was amongst the last 3 countries that were very poor in Africa. But after 2 years of Traore being in power, the country of Burkina Faso was amongst the top 20 countries in Africa, which are considered richest country in Africa. And many politicians began asking themselves, so how did this happen? So how was it possible? Even in African parliaments, the member of parliaments used to discuss, and when they were running motions in parliament, they used to use Capt.Ibrahim Traore as an example, telling their governments, look at what this young man has been able to do. In a very short time, he has been able to do all these kind of things. Look at what he has done. Look at how he has developed his country. Why can't we copy and follow his steps and do like the way he has been doing? Look at the country of Botswana. They decided we're going to do it the way Burkina Faso did. Look at the country of Namibia. They decided we are going to do it the way Burkina Faso did. And many other countries decided we are going the way of Burkina Faso. And a lot of things began changing instantly in Africa. Now, the so-called the French Empire that was considered powerful, that could manipulate African countries and they would live better, the same people who said that Burkina Faso can't do without them, the same people who said and came and said that, it is very difficult for you to manage. It is very difficult for you to be able to run your countries and lead your country without us, because we are the people who can help you, and we've been helping you for years. Now, what is happening in their country is not something we can talk about. The French Empire has finally fallen. The French Empire is no longer standing. And what was happening in France, how France was strong, how France used to lead, how France used to be considered one of the biggest empires in the world. Now France is just a normal country like other countries, where the government cannot even take care of its people. The government cannot even be competent. It is very much irresponsible, and they can no longer stand. So in this case, who wins? Does France win? Or is it Burkina Faso that wins? Definitely, Burkina Faso wins. Because as people in Burkina Faso are celebrating because of good regime under Capt.Ibrahim Traore, people in France are demonstrating and fighting the police because of the bad governance under President Emmanuel Macron. So between President Emmanuel Macron and between Capt.Ibrahim Traore, who is supposed to thank another one, or who is supposed to call another one for help? Should Traore go to Emmanuel Macron for advice or help on how to build his country, or should Macron come to Burkina Faso to Traore on advice and help on how to govern his country? I want you to take a look at these videos of what is happening in France, and then tell me what you think in the comment section. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you're watching me for the first time. Now, after watching these videos, prepare your comments. Let me know what you have to say in the comment section. But until then, let's take a look at these videos.
Protests are getting intense. Almost 300,000 people took the street of Marseille at the same time. French farmers also joined the demonstration in a huge number. They dumped trash in front of government buildings. Most protests have been peaceful, but anger has mounted since Macron pushed the bill without a vote. And in the last 7 days, demonstrations continued in Paris and other cities, with rubbish being set alight. So what Paris residents think about the protest? A Paris engineer said, "I'm supporting the strike, even if it will take more time to go to work today." But the government wanted to move on. Macron on Wednesday said, despite escalating anger across the country, the reform would come into force by year end. In response, one of the union leaders said, the best response we can give the president is that there are millions of people on strike and in the streets.
When somebody comes to you and tells you that Africa is better and Africa is bigger than any other country in the world, you need to understand. When somebody tells you Africa is bigger than any other continent in the world, you need to agree with this person. Africa only needs people who can run it properly. Africa only needs people who can think better, or who can have a second thought, or who can have a certain kind of intellectual or a certain kind of intelligence or a certain kind of mind for it to be where it is supposed to be. The fact that Africa does not have people who think critically does not mean Africa is weak or Africa is not rich or Africa is, does not deserve to be amongst the first world countries. Africa is one of the first world continents. The reason being, Africa has been providing wealth, food, resources, and minerals for every single country that is in this world. All these countries that they are considering themselves first world countries, they are coming to Africa for them to be able to get some things. Without Africa, they might not be able, or they cannot be able to be where they are today. And therefore, for somebody to come and threaten Africa and say, you can't do without me, or tell a country in Africa you can't do without me, it is simply trying to make you feel or try to make you think that you can't do without them. It is called a reverse psychology, confusing your mind to believe or to understand, so it is true, I can't do without these people. Let me tell you something. Empires are falling. And France or French being a fallen empire, it is because of the pride that they had. Emmanuel Macron is one of the prideful presidents that I've ever seen. They've come to Africa, they've been eating from Africa, they've been surviving from Africa, they've been breathing from Africa, because without Africa, they would not have gotten the things they have today. And then upon going out there, they begin saying or threatening Traore on how he cannot survive, or how he cannot be able to do things without him, or how he cannot be able to stand without him. Right now, Traore is standing while Macron is trembling. Traore is standing while Macron is trembling. The same Macron who said that Africa needs to thank them because they've been working and helping Africa for many years. If you've been helping Africa for many years, why is it that Burkina Faso, under the government or under the regime or under Capt.Ibrahim Traore, is looking better than Burkina Faso under you and the other president that you're manipulating? Tell me, why are you right now trembling, terrified, and shaking after now Burkina Faso has decided to cut ties with you? It means you were surviving through getting, or through receiving, or through eating, or stealing from Burkina Faso. You are exploiting from Burkina Faso, and that is why you were surviving. Now that Burkina Faso is no longer with you, and many other countries that you were surviving with, the other countries that were feeding you from Africa, now that they are no longer with you, that is why you are shaking. So there is no any African country that needs another foreign country for it to be able to survive. For her to be able to survive. They only need themselves and people who are sober-minded for them to be able to survive. And that is why we've always been calling the African Americans to come back home, for us to be able to make sure we are building the continent, that we can be able to earn the respect that we need. France does not need, Africa does not need France to survive. Africa does not need America to survive. Look at what is happening in America. America is shaking. America is about to go down. It's about to fall. And the reason is because many countries have been cutting themselves out of the United States of America from Africa. And that is why this country is trembling. It means Africa does not need foreign countries to survive. Foreign countries needs Africa to survive. And that is why right now, when Macron was in Africa, Africa was not growing. But upon the leaving of Macron, Africa began growing, especially Burkina Faso. When Macron was in Africa, France was growing. But upon the leaving of Macron from Africa, France is shaking, which means France needs Africa to survive. Africa does not need France to survive. And that is what Traore has always been implying. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. I am your presenter, The African Streamline. I'm going to ask you to subscribe if you're watching me for the first time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always being here. I tell you every day, Africa is home, and anything that concerns Africa concerns me and you as black people. Until next time, peace be with you.